Toast is the exchange student that you have like a 3-week affair with.
Hey, we can see that you don't have pants on.
Somebody hit somebody with a pie. Do something.
Giovanni yelling we're out of time as we go off the air.
Giovanni yelling a lot of things tonight.
And welcome to the Mark It Down podcast.
I don't know about you guys, but that new countdown music really threw me off.
I don't know if you saw. I privately chatted you. I was like, "What the is this?"
I guess they switched it here over on StreamYard. But anyway, hello everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Mark It Down podcast. My name is Nick Cummings, joined this week by James Gisanti. Back here once again to review a red-hot AEW Dynamite as AEW has continued their streak of just really good episodes. And tonight, we start with the main event of the evening. We saw Konosuke Takeshita face off against Orange Cassidy for the AEW International Championship. We are starting with this over protests from James, who wanted us to start with Harley, Cameron versus Deonna Purrazzo. But we will get to that, James, I promise.
It's your night. You get to lead. If this was Impact, we know where we'd be. We know where we'd be.
Eric saying it was definitely Matt that changed the music. We'll see. I'll play around with it after the show. But anyway, this match was the second of the 3 matches in the Revolution International Championship thing that they're running. Either way, but Orange defeated Roderick Strong last week to earn this title opportunity, and then the winner of this match was set to go on to face off against Kenny Omega at Revolution for the International Championship. Also, there's my light. I forgot to turn it on. Real quick, something I missed last week in Orange's entrance is he has a new Tron, and I didn't see everything that was on the big one, but on the one on the barricade, it said, whatever, it's my first day back. It's blue ink now, which I like. He changed it. Anyway, Takeshita was obviously accompanied by that carny piece of shit, Don Callis. We had a big night tonight. And I'm quoting Excalibur here, a reluctant-looking Mark Davis, who Callis called his personal protector. Now, somehow, this is the first ever matchup between these two men, which shocked me.
Which I thought he defended against him.
Right? That's what I like. There's no way in my head these two guys hadn't faced off against each other. And considering all that, considering the chemistry that they showed together, it is insane that they haven't. Because this was, as Excalibur put it, a barn burner. So Takeshita started off the match by stealing Orange's sunglasses off his head when Orange was trying to taunt him. And then he broke them in half and threw them away. And then Orange pulled out another set. And then Takeshita stole those. And then he brought them over and gave them to Don, who was on commentary.
And they were very ill-fitting, let me say.
Yeah. After that, these two men just came out firing. And it did not let up for the entire match. A bit later, after we got back from commercial, we had Takeshita counter in one of the best sequences of the match, which is saying something. He countered an Orange Tilt-A-Whirl DDT that Orange then tried to counter that counter with a Stun Dog Millionaire, which Takeshita then countered with a Blue Thunder Bomb that Orange was forced to kick out of. The two men then continued to fight, and they fell to the outside of ring, and Orange fell really close to Don at the announce desk. So Bryce Remsburg sprinted out of the ring to make sure Don didn't do anything. And then Don just cowered in fear, which was really funny. That led to Orange sitting on the announce desk and eating a few shots from Takeshita in order to taunt him and bait Takeshita into standing up on the announce desk, where Orange was able to hit a beach break through most of the desk. Didn't completely break, but you definitely heard the table part of it go.
It felt worse because it didn't break.
Yeah, that Excalibur says it is a solid oak table, and I believe him when he says it because they just do not give.
Yep.
Anyway, both men then barely beat the 10 count back into the ring, or at least Takeshita does. I don't know if Orange was trying to time him, because right as they got in the ring, Orange hit Takeshita with an Orange punch, and then Takeshita fell back outside the ring, and Orange hit him with a diving DDT onto the outside. Orange then threw Takeshita back in, grabbed his sunglasses back off of Don's face, and climbed to the top rope, but his dive was intercepted by Takeshita elbow strike, and that sent the glasses flying off of his face. Takeshita then tried to hit a brain buster, but Orange finally was able to counter that with the Stung Dog Millionaire, and then Cassidy went for another orange punch, but Takeshita caught him in a bit of a wheelbarrow and then was able to maneuver Orange into what was basically it was Trent Beretta's pile driver. I don't know what it's called because they never
the opposite. So who hit it, Orange or Takeshita?
Takeshita hit it.
All right, and then he hits the German afterwards, right?
Well, he attempted to go for the German, or I thought it was a wheelbarrow, maybe. Either way, but Orange countered that with a code red, and then Takeshita kicked out of it.
So it's not quite Trent's pile driver. Trent's the dude buster, but is like in the back, and it's very similar to what's his name? It's very similar to Hangman's Deadeye, but this one is just more of a reversed one.
Okay, I was thinking maybe Trent uses it as a different move then, because I'm pretty sure he does use it, but or maybe Chuck uses it. One of the best friends. Either way, after Takeshita kicked out of that code red, Cassidy went for a third and final orange punch, but Takeshita countered it and got Orange up and hit a Raging Fire to retain his international championship. Don then came into the ring to celebrate and put Orange's glasses on Takeshita, who posed with them with a big thumbs down thing. If you saw the thumbnail here on the video, and it was just hilarious because Takeshita is a really funny dude, even though he can't show it right now because he is heel. But James, as I said, an absolute barn burner of a match. You know, we're calling it a banger of a match, and I know we've had some really good episodes of Dynamite lately, but I feel like this was at a different level than the matches we've got in the last few weeks. And this is what I think we really watch AEW for, matches like this, because this fucking rocked.
See, it sucks, man, because Saturdays are for the sickos. What are we on Wednesdays? Like, I'm in. I like this stuff. Like, it's just as good. Is Wednesday for the wackos? I don't know. But, like, regardless, amazing. I noticed something about tonight's show that, with the exception of one match that I could think of off the top of my head, pretty much every match tonight felt very fresh. We were seeing guys wrestling and interacting that typically don't cross over. Like, we're surprised, but apparently it's true. We've never had a one-on-one match between Takeshita and Orange. We had Hangman versus Aaron Solo. We had Will Ospreay versus the Bad Apple. We had the Undisputed Kingdom against FTR, which, granted, I'm sure they've locked up in the past, but at the same time, like, it feels very fresh here in AEW. So just a lot of energy with this card tonight, a lot of just a breath of fresh air in terms of not seeing the same old rematches or just feuds sort of carrying on for so long that you know who the players are that are interacting. We had the Outrunners versus the Murder Monsters. Like, what is that clash? Or Murder Machines, my bad. Murder Machines. But, like, so bizarre, but all so great. And I think the main event was the perfect cherry on top of that, because these guys just, it was energy. It was buzz. It was pure adrenaline watching them. And both of them just delivered for who they are and what they are. And it was great. Like, I'm just sad that Orange lost, but not because I wanted, like, not that I wanted Takeshita to lose, but, like, man, Orange is coming back into a loss, which is rough, but just great matchup. I don't know anybody that Orange doesn't have great chemistry with. Like, I think you'd have to, like, just not be into his shtick and then not want to sell for him to not have a good match with him at this point. So just, they absolutely killed it. I will say one thing, and I don't know if this is a hot take, and I want your opinion. There's a part of me that would have kind of preferred Kenny versus Orange versus Kenny versus Takeshita.
I mean, I'm trying to decide. I don't know if we've seen Kenny versus Orange straight up. I feel like we might have, and I can't.
we had the triple threat that I remember for the title with Pac.
Yeah,
but
that's
I don't.
what I'm
I
thinking.
agree. I don't know if we've ever had a one-on-one match between the two of them, and I think that would have slapped.
It still probably will if they ever get it done.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I agree with you. I think tonight was a very fresh card in general, which was very helpful and made this very entertaining. And I want to say I'm okay with Orange losing here. Like, obviously, I am upset, but he's going to be fine. He won a match last week. He looked great in defeat tonight. Yes. And like I said, this was just nonstop good from the jump. Because after all that taunting and stuff, the opening sequence between the two men, where they were countering early, and it ended with Takeshita basically matrixing an Orange punch, and Orange looking at his hand like it was, it wasn't solid anymore. That was awesome to start with. That's when I wrote down that they came out firing, because I didn't want to recap that whole bit, but like that was sick. And I was just like, from there, I was like, oh, we're cooking with gas now.
Yeah.
And these two absolutely delivered.
And like all good matches, there are those moments where, oh man, is Orange going to win?
Yep.
When he did that counter to the pile driver or to the wheelbarrow, I really thought he was going to, like, there was a split second that I was like, oh my God, he just became a 3-time international champion. So great matchup, great display from both of these guys. And I'm just happy to have Orange back. And it's crazy. He wasn't gone that long. He was gone for 6 weeks, but like I felt him being gone for those 6 weeks. And not only is he back, he feels like classic Orange. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, we got Jane back, which was cool. He's back in the blue with the the usual white T-shirt. Like I said, he started with a lot more of his taunts than usual, because even after the ones with the glasses, Takeshita was like, wanted to go strike for strike with him, and Orange was just kind of tapping him or patting him on the chest instead of actually going hit for hit with him. Yep. Until Takeshita knocked him on his ass, and then Orange started going again. So yeah, no, I loved every second of this match. This is one of the things I don't like about watching on HBO Max, is they don't do picture-in-picture ever. And I would have loved to have seen what happened in the picture-in-picture in here, because the start of the match was hot, the end of the match was hot. I got to imagine there was a middle bit in there that was also pretty good.
Yeah.
So that is a downside, but the upside to it is that it actually fucking works.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty solid trade-off there. All right, before we move on, I just wanted to quickly jump into the comments here to discuss something that Eric brought up that happened last week, asking if they ever discussed what happened with Thunder Rosa and Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford last week and the chair. And according to reports, I believe it was either SRS or Meltzer, they said that there was a miscommunication between the producers of the match and the coaches and all of that stuff. It wasn't on any of the women. They weren't explained what to do properly, and it just ended up and no one actually knew what was going on. And unfortunately, it looked pretty
shocking. Accidents happen.
Yep.
There's a whole channel dedicated to it called Botchamania, which, by the way,
the greatest thing of all time happened this weekend.
I feel like this is your moment.
So apparently, I don't know how we didn't find this out for like 5 days. I guess I'm the only one who watches Botchamania. But one of the Instagram reels that Danny made for our channel ended up as a Botchamania ending. And I was drunk watching it and was like, so in the chat, I was like, did I miss the part where we discussed that we made Botchamania? And no one knew but me. And it was great. So thank you to Matthew for including our ending there. We really appreciate it. Of course, it was Danny's because it involved Pokemon. But no, I was so excited, and it was awesome. Eric asking, storyline-wise, did they say anything about Thunder?
It was just an accident. That's the explanation. Like they're not going to highlight the fact that somebody fucked up.
Yeah, that is very true. And they didn't address that storyline on Dynamite this week. So I don't know if they're going to go back to the Bane and Statlander and Thunder Rosa stuff on Collision, or maybe next week on Dynamite. Either way, yeah, they just didn't cover it tonight. So maybe they're still trying to figure out what to do before they end up in Oakland on Saturday. But okay, let's keep things rolling here. Although, You know what's saying? I saw about 100 clickbait videos on the no sell. Oh yeah, it was on the Megan Baines no sell. And Eric's saying they used to highlight fuck ups all the time and make sense of it. But again, like it was just I don't think it was anything where they weren't highlighting it. It was just not part of the show this week. That storyline just wasn't part of the show. I think that's the only reason why we didn't see anything.
It'll be really interesting to be like Thunder Rosa just abhors violence. She's actually like she doesn't want to wrestle anymore. She doesn't want to hurt people. She's just probably going to go into commentary.
I mean, you could always just say like Bane refused to back down, and Thunder Rosa was thrown by that, and didn't wasn't sure whether to hit her or not. Like it's like a 2-second explanation if they decide to address it at all. I really don't think it was that big of a deal. All right, let's head back to the top of the show. Shout out to Excalibur's Padres mask, by the way. I'm not a Padres fan, but it was still pretty cool. I think he's from that area, so I liked it. Anyway, we started the show with Copeland interrupting Excalibur from an ambulance backstage, where he announced that, where he introduced the Death Riders to their ride out of there later in the show.
That's dark as hell.
Yep. We then went to a pre-taped promo from MJF, where he was cutting a promo from a tattoo removal place, and he was there getting his AEW tattoo removed from his leg, the one that he showed when he came back from his injury. He said he was getting it removed because he's given up on the company and its audience as they've continued to side with Hangman and his cowboy bullshit, even though he has always been right there for them. He obviously being MJF. Max no longer believes in the letters AEW or FAN. The only one he believes in now are MJF.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Fantastic work.
In a very short amount of time, too. It was a bit better than that. I'm condensing it a lot, but yeah, he did a great job. And then they had a close-up of his tattoo being lasered off. Now, there's a lot of questions whether or not that tattoo was real in the first place, because we haven't really seen it since he revealed it to everybody.
I don't really pay that much attention to men's ankles, so it's hard. But regardless, fake, real or not, storyline-wise, it was real. And that's a cool... that's a cool continuity thing.
Yeah, I do like that in kayfabe. So if it wasn't real, then they did a great way of writing it out. As we say hello to Maria, what's going on? Glad to have you back. And then if it was real, then they did a just great job of not ignoring it, but being able to get it off of people's minds. Like, oh yeah, it's not there anymore. And if he still does have it, good for him.
Yeah.
Let's continue with Maria called the hot opening for Dynamite as we hit our first match of the evening, as we saw Hangman Adam Page face off against Aaron Solo. Now, Excalibur was very concerned because Page hadn't arrived at the arena yet, but he arrived just as his match was going to start, pulling up in one of those new electric trucks. I don't know if it was a Scout. I think it might have been a Scout, with a pair of barbed wire wrapped Longhorns on the hood. It was pretty cool. And Hangman went straight from the back to the ring, fully clothed, took off his jacket, took off his shirt, and beat the piss out of Aaron Solo and beat him with a buckshot lariat in like under a minute. And then after the match, Hangman jumped out of the ring, grabbed a mic and a chair, and went back in to call out MJF. He started off by saying there are 3 things he hates in this world: running out of biscuits, English ivy, and when a little bitch with a leaking spray tan spits in his face, which I liked better than MJF's closing line. That was great. The Hangman declares that he'll be sitting in the ring until somebody drags MJF out there, and he gives Max the beating of a lifetime. MJF quickly comes out, wiping his hands seemingly of blood onto a towel, saying he won't fight Hangman right now is because Hangman's so fired up. He's a vicious animal, and Max says he wouldn't stand a chance. MJF's not even sure if he has a chance at Revolution, so he's going to go home to Long Island and train just so he has an opportunity to win. But before he leaves, he almost forgot why he came out there in the first place, and he says that Hangman needs to go check on his friends, and then they'll actually see who's real. MJF then leaves, and a few seconds later, we see on the Tron a downed and bloodied Christopher Daniels, who is just leaking, and his shirt is coated in a huge red blood stain. Hangman then grabs a chair and heads to the back, first looking for MJF before finding CD and making sure he gets medical attention before continuing his hunt. So, James, first of all, I love Hangman with a very, very inside joke of English Ivy, because if you follow him on Blue Sky, he only tweets about his garden, and this English Ivy is his biggest opponent since Swerve. Because he can't get it out of his garden, and he's going ballistic over it. But other than that, I like this. It wasn't very long, but I thought it was very powerful. Heyman, I thought, did a great job, and Max was able to, I think, have some great sarcasm while also seriously putting Hangman over.
Yeah.
And then doing obviously a very heelish thing and just taking out CD. So I've enjoyed CD's inclusion in this feud, and I'm enjoying this feud. So I thought this was a great way to continue it 2 weeks out from Revolution.
CD has been more active in this rivalry than anything he had done prior to his retirement in like the last year and a half, 2 years, really. So it's pretty cool. It's funny because I have a friend who is a wrestling fan. He likes WWE. He likes AEW, but he sometimes has issues with AEW storytelling. And he was mentioning to me while the segment was happening that he was frustrated that it feels like they're speed running Hangman a little bit. And he said, I just don't know how it makes sense that a few weeks ago he beat the shit out of Daniels and now he's running to his aid. And I had to respectfully disagree with my friend. And I love the trajectory of Hangman since that Daniels match, since the retirement match, where he finally realized how far he's gone and how far he's fallen. And now Daniels was sort of his wake-up call. I love that. So I love that this angle is still playing out. And like you said, with MJF putting over Hangman, albeit sarcastically, it feels so real for MJF to be like, why would I fight you now? Why would I do that? We're going to wrestle in 2 weeks anyway. Why would I do this to myself? I thought that was a great bit. So, I was going to say all three men, but Daniels didn't really do anything. Both men really killed it. Hangman is starting to feel like our guy again. We're getting there. Like it's going to be a slow process, but he's starting to feel like our guy again, and it's great to see. And MJF, man, like, I don't think they planned it for 2025, but since January, it feels like we're getting so many of our AEW guys presented the way they should be. MJF feels like he is the character he's supposed to be again. Hangman is getting there. We're getting the presentation with Kenny. You know, Swerve, I will get into his segment, but again, it felt like we're sort of not resetting Swerve, but like we're repositioning Swerve the way he should be. So it's really cool to see all these guys returning to form. And I think this promo was a good highlight of that.
I'm curious. The Swerve thing is hanging me up here just for a second, because like I get repositioning. I think is the good word for it, because like he didn't necessarily need a character reset. He's pretty much been the guy we needed. But I do like that he wants to refocus on getting back the AEW World Championship after getting so distracted by Hangman and that feud. So I enjoyed that. Now, I do think part of all this too is, and it also relates back to what we were talking about earlier about how everything felt very fresh on the card tonight. With so much talent back, I think they've been able to kind of reset, hit a soft reset.
I agree.
Turn it off and turn it back on again. And we've gotten guys back to where they need to be, or slowly returning to that point, especially in the case of Hangman, where storyline wise, he's going back to where at least to the light. I don't want to say back to where he was, because I don't think they would undo all of his character development. But, like you said, he's becoming our guy again. MJF has, now that he's been able to get past that whole Adam Cole thing, which I think is what was really, really hanging him up there, he's been able to return to this form. And I think part of that was like we saw the Jarrett stuff, and then the the Dustin Rhodes stuff, and he was just going for the easy marks.
Yeah.
And finally, he got somebody to challenge him properly in Hangman, and now he's able to now he's back to where he should be in terms of like how he attacks people and how cerebral he is, whether that's on the microphone or by going after a soft target instead of, the person he has to end up facing.
We're also building to something. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you there, but I think you kind of led me to this point. We're building to a very natural sort of bottleneck for how many people have a realistic claim to challenge for the AEW World Title, mixed in with how many people just want to see certain guys going for the AEW World Title again. MJF's character is all about being champion. And quite frankly, I think we're being the guy. And I feel like we've been jumping through hoops to keep him away from challenging for it again.
That's so many dudes because they're so good. Swerve is the next guy you're going to say, and they have to because they need to keep guys away from the title because they do deserve it.
Yeah. So I know we don't have many multi-man matches for the world title. And I think I know we had one back in December, but man, if there was ever a time to introduce a gimmick multi-man match for the world title, I feel like we're really getting there.
Like an elimination chamber X type of thing.
Yeah. So who knows? I know I'm just speculating, spitballing, and fantasy booking, but it's cool to see the main event scene so stacked again.
Yeah, I can honestly see maybe this match opening. I don't know if they wanted to, but it's going to be this or the cage match with Fletcher and Ospreay. But I do think, because Maria's got a good point, this feud, has been taken to another level now that CD's been gotten involved. And I think part of that is because, as it said, it is kind of Hangman's fault that CD got bloodied. And I imagine Hangman's probably going to internalize that, and how he uses that going forward is going to be interesting. I really think Hangman's arc is more how he uses his anger and directs it properly than, and that will be the new version of Hangman, the good guy version of it again. It is kind of similar to what Seth Rollins was saying to Cody Rhodes on Monday. He's like, I have all this hate, and sometimes it's directed in the proper places. And I do think that Hangman is learning how to use the hate properly and direct it towards the people who deserve it, and not just towards anybody who gets in his way. Because if he does, then what happens to CD happens. And, then that shakes him to his core.
Yep.
It's saying that he could smell MJF and Swerve feuding after this. That would be very interesting.
Again, that's another one that's been teased for a very long time, too.
Yeah, those two guys, I think, definitely have to mix it up at some point. And honestly, we're getting to a point, man, where we're almost going to have the biggest, if we can't have a multi-man match, like the biggest tournament possible. And I mean that in terms of star power.
Yeah.
Because we got to weed out some of these people, at least in kayfabe, who are going for the title, or at least get somebody there with some semblance of, okay, they deserve to be there. Because if we're not going to have the power rankings anymore, then it's just all kind of up to, hey, who attacked the champ most recently? So, because you could put
creatively, who did it most bitterly?
Yeah, you could put MJF, Swerve, Hangman, Switchblade, which I got some theories for him that I've stolen from Reddit.
I think we're on the same page there unintentionally. But
yep. There's a whole lot of people who are in position to make a run at the AEW World Championship, and you're right. We gotta stop having everybody jump through hoops to get there. And I know that's part of wrestling and how you have to balance the booking, but there's just so many people. It's unbelievable. So hopefully Tony Khan's able to stay in the weeds and continue to do some great work like this.
Yep.
All right, let's keep things moving here. After this, we had a backstage interview with Chris Jericho. Renee congratulates Jericho on his title defense on Collision, but Jericho interrupts her, saying the real reason she's there is to apologize for insulting him last week. Renee says, yeah, I'm here for that, and also to find out how this Will Ospreay Bounty Hunter Bryan Keith match came about. Jericho then revealed that carny piece of shit Don Callis was in his locker room along with personal protector Mark Davis, with Callis saying he needed somebody outside the family to handle Ospreay since the member of the family he first gave the opportunity to, Davis, failed to take him out. Jericho then says that he doesn't need to help people at this point in his career. He just wants to. And here he's helped Bryan Keith by giving him an amazing opportunity to take out a top star and collect on a huge bounty. That then led into Will Ospreay versus Bounty Hunter Bryan Keith. And he actually used Bounty Hunter this time, which made me happy. And before the match, we saw, it was actually before Jericho's interview, which the crowd picked up on. But we saw Callis and Kyle Fletcher up in a luxury box there to watch the match. They then went to the interview, and then Callis was backstage, so the crowd kind of called them out on it, if you listened, which is pretty funny. But obvious, either somebody did that backwards, or it was a pre-tape, and they just didn't mention it.
Yeah.
Either way, towards the end of this match, after Keith looked up at Callis's box and seemed to get a signal from him, Keith locked in the double underhooks, and it looked like he was going to go for a Tiger Driver 91. However, Ospreay countered that into a roll-up, and after the two men shifted the weight back and forth, Ospreay was able to use the weight and stand up and transition into a Styles clash. He hits that and then followed up with a hidden blade and picked up the win. After the match, Ospreay challenged Fletcher to come down to the ring, but Don and Kyle countered that Ospreay should go up to them. So Ospreay went up there to meet them, and Kyle met him about halfway, and the two threw some punches for a bit before security quickly broke it up. But James, I love Bryan Keith. I think we know that. Yep. And he's a really good wrestler, and Ospreay could wrestle a broom to a 4.5-star match. So what you got here was a very good match. I thought Keith looked really good. He hit his Liger bomb, and Ospreay kicked out of that. I don't know if that's his finisher, but it's one of his signatures at least. So he almost had the win, and you can make an argument that if he didn't listen to Callis, he might have actually had it, because that Liger bomb he hits also uses the double underhooks, but he hesitated to attempt to hit the Tiger Driver, and it ended up costing him the match. So I thought Keith looked really good here, even though it's a loss, and another loss for him, and another failed bounty he didn't collect, because they dubbed this a bounty match. But he looked really good, and Ospreay picks up another good win and continues his momentum before he faces Fletcher in that cage at Grand Slam.
Oh, no, absolutely. Ospreay, he's in such a weird position, because he's a guy who is just so undeniably good. So your instinct is to want to push him up higher.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's not a guy who necessarily needs to be in the world title picture all the time, because one, he is still such a young guy, and he's going to be there for the long haul, that you don't need to just rush through that process. So, and you don't want him to take too many losses, but he's also not a guy who should be unbeatable either. So to me, he's one of the hardest guys to book in AEW. I thought this match was a lot of fun. Again, I talked about it earlier. I spoke on the fact that so many unique matchups happened tonight, and I think to me this was one of them. I could not fathom seeing these two guys wrestling, considering where we've been the last couple of months in terms of AEW storytelling. I guess I don't remember if the segment really acknowledged Jericho and Callis's history, but
oddly not really. Whether them being friends or not being friends, but I guess they made up.
Heels of a feather. But it was a cool setup. Callis has so many guys in his family, but they've all basically lost to Ospreay at one point or another. So I get wanting to farm out. But, and I say this with respect to your guy, because I know you like the Bounty Hunter, there had to have been a better option somewhere.
Well,
I say that with respect. I like Bounty Hunter Keith.
Yeah, but they've been running the last few weeks, both on Dynamite and Collision, the idea that Keith is actually going after people for bounties. He was going after Bandito, and now there's another bounty here on Ospreay, and he's the one who accepted it via a little transactional help from Jericho. So is there somebody better? Yes, but gimmick-wise, now that they seem to be going back towards him being bounty hunter Bryan Keith. I like the idea that he went for this, even though he took it out. He needs some wins soon. He needs to get some bounties. Maybe that doesn't have really start happening until after he breaks away from Jericho. But I still think he did a good job. As Maria said, it was his best match in AEW. And I feel like so many of them have been on Collision. I can't confidently say that, but definitely his best match I've seen on Dynamite. And the first one I've really seen him have one-on-one in a while. So I'm glad, like I said, I'm glad he got the opportunity. He looked really good. And I do think this will help push him along towards that inevitable breakup with Jericho.
Yep, I agree.
So I'm happy with it. It's saying that this thing mixed up with Don. That was obviously Don's clone. Villains always keep a clone nearby. And I get to make my second Dr. Evil reference in 2 weeks.
I was going for an Austin Powers reference before, but I didn't have the opening for it. It's okay. It's just been happening naturally, though, on the pod, and I'm here for it.
I say lines from that movie all the time, and I just don't think you realize.
Oh, no, I do. But it's become a special thing lately, and we're going to get copyrighted when we make a t-shirt acknowledging it, but it's worth it.
Mark it down in the Austin Powers font.
There you go. There you go.
Flowers. Yeah. All right. After this, we came back from commercial. First, we had a Momo Watanabe video package helping her introduce her to the AEW Dynamite audience, for those who didn't know, and it included her win in that Global Cup, whatever they called it, at Wrestle Dynasty earlier in the year. And then we went backstage to Mercedes Moné. For those of you who forgot, Mercedes called out Momo to be at Dynamite to challenge her face-to-face for the TBS Championship. So Mercedes starts off by questioning if Momo even showed up tonight and questioning why Momo picked her in the first place. She's 4 belts Moné. There's no way she could win. Mercedes then walks up to Billy Starks, who I haven't seen on Dynamite in 5 ever.
You know where this is going, and we're all very happy about it.
And Mercedes, just basically pretending not to know who Billy is, asks if she's seen Momo, eventually knocking Billy's drink into her face when Billy just basically shoves Mercedes off. Starks then retorts that Mercedes knows who she is, and while Moné may be showing off her 4 titles, she's forgetting one more title she has, and that is the title of narcissistic stuck-up bitch. Billy then says he's a future champ in AEW, and as Momo sneaks up behind Mercedes with her baseball bat, Billy says that Moné better watch her back. Mercedes is like, watch my back, and she turns around and barely ducks a swing of the bat from Momo and drops her TBS championship as she runs off. Momo then picks it up and says she is going to derail the money train to finish out this segment. So, all right, James, we could talk about Momo Watanabe and Mercedes Moné if you want, but what do you got for us on Billy Starks being on Dynamite for, again, the first time in a very, very long time?
I'll be very honest with you. I don't really understand. I don't know what the final verdict on her relationship with Athena is right now. It's been a little bit since I've really, really kept up to date with Ring of Honor, but they're still together, I believe.
Yep.
Just please, let Athena come up to AEW. She's been Ring of Honor Women's Champion for over 800 days.
Jeez.
There's nothing left to do. There just isn't. Please. She is one of 3 names that reasonably should beat Mercedes for the TBS title. Let Mercedes get through Momo, let her get through Billy, and then that brings out Athena. Please. There's a part of me that even wants to say, even if Athena loses to Mercedes and Mercedes becomes 5-belt Mercedes, that's fine. I got unreasonably excited during the promo for Momo where we saw Momo pin Athena to earn this shot against Mercedes just because this is the first time Athena's been on Dynamite in any capacity in 800 days. Please. She's the best. She's earned it. We've earned it by waiting this long. Please.
I saw somebody say that the reason Tony maybe doesn't have her lose is because she's the only real attraction on Ring of Honor right now.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Like
I don't care.
She's the only reason somebody might pay $8.99 a month to watch Ring of Honor. But I agree. It's been 800 days. Like, I appreciate the fact that she is now probably the greatest Ring of Honor women's champion of all time. But
definitely.
I don't know my Ring of Honor history well enough, so I was covering my bases there. But
definitely the greatest Ring of Honor women's champion of all time, people.
But
it's not for second place.
But she's getting close to like Hogan territory. I'm trying to remember how long Roman held it his last reign. Was it over 1,000 days?
Yes, it was like 11 something.
Yeah, she's encroaching on that. And if nothing changes, she's going to encroach on Bruno. So, yeah, I want her up. Was just really also happy to see Billy up. She's great. It was nice to see her on Dynamite, and I thought she did very well in this promo too.
Yeah.
So this was cool, and I also found it a little bit interesting that she seemed friendly with Momo after it was Momo who beat Athena. So I'm curious to see if that comes up in any capacity in the near future in terms of the relationships with Athena and Billy Starks.
Yeah.
But all right, let's continue things along here. Next up, we had the Outrunners versus the Murder Machines, and the winner was probably going to get a shot at the AEW World Tag Team Championships. That was according to MVP himself. So before the match, just to explain something to a lot of people who probably didn't understand it, we got a video package of the Outrunners who were at Omaha University with the men's basketball team. So the Omaha has had this thing where if they win a game, their coach was kicking the shit out of a trash can, which I think he originally got from Letterkenny. But it developed into him like body slamming the trash can and choke slamming it and like giving it the people's elbow and just wrestling the fuck out of this trash can after every win. So Omaha invited the Outrunners to come, and they gave a hype-up speech before the game, and then they won, and then the Outrunners joined the coach in defeating the trash can after the game. That's what that was about. That's all you need to know, and just keep an eye out on Twitter for the Omaha men's basketball team. It's really funny watching their coaches boot this trash can. Anyway, to close out this match, after a Turbo Floyd kick out of a Lance Archer chokeslam, because Archer, according to Excalibur, over-rotated on his pin, Archer then put Floyd up on the top rope. As Archer is set up for the blackout, the music of the Hurt Syndicate hit, and them starting to walk out provided the distraction for Floyd to roll up Archer and get the win. Then the Outrunners ran up onto the stage, and they celebrated next to MVP, who seemingly nodded that they would be getting their title opportunity. So, James, this was mostly during commercial.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it for what it was. The Outrunners are interesting to watch because they wrestle like it's 1980, and that can
better force.
Yeah, and it can create kind of, I don't want to say janky matches sometimes, but sometimes things get a little out of sync depending on if people know how to work with them that way.
I'll say it. You're being very kind.
I am.
Congratulations to the Outrunners for getting as over as they have, because the crowd loves them. I enjoy seeing them pop up for saves and stuff. Their matches aren't great.
I haven't seen a lot of them, I'm going to be honest. They're on Collision so much. I like them for the memes.
Yes, and that's fine. Sometimes, though, we let the meme go just a little too far. And that's what I'm worried about with the Outrunners.
I think this is Tony allowing the crowd to get what it wants. They're not winning, obviously.
But Bucks wanted to drop the titles to them.
Yep. And Tony wants no part of it. But I think this is like, all right, look, they're going to get their title shot. They'll probably have an epic comeback in the middle of that match at some point. And then, but it'll mostly be a squash. But it'll still be fun. And that's all I'm expecting to get out of that match, which I'm presuming is going to happen at Revolution.
Yeah. So. I'm really surprised that they got the win over the Murder Machines, because it really did feel like we're building towards Murder Machines versus the Hurt Syndicate.
Yeah.
That was the whole reason why the Syndicate got involved in the match tonight, so they could screw them over. But even if they do get the match at this point, they've lost already to other contenders. It doesn't feel earned anymore, nor does it feel as big anymore. This was a really weird choice, from my point of view. I don't want to feel like I don't want to sound like I'm just knocking it, because by all means, the babyface team won here. The popular team won here. But I guess it's just because I want to see big, meaty men slapping each other's meat.
Yeah.
But I'm let down. This is a bummer.
I'm not let down because I like the Outrunner so much, but I am disappointed I'm not going to see that match, because the Murder Machines against the Hurt Syndicate looked to be such an awesome build, and then they did the bit on Collision to set up this match, and I was like, oh, the Outrunners, like, they had a great bit there. MVP, what did he say? Like, whatever, just go watch it. It was Saturday night when I watched it. It was really funny. But I was expecting them to get their asses handed to them, and they won. Now, they won with a roll-up and via distraction, and I guess it makes a little bit of sense for the Hurt Syndicate to take on the easier contenders just so they can, hurt people and retain their titles. Because the Murder Machines are a much more credible threat. So I don't know if we're getting this tag title match. They didn't announce it for Saturday. So maybe it's next week. Maybe it is Revolution. I don't know. If it's next week, don't be surprised if we then see Murder Machines against the Hurt Syndicate at Revolution, or since there was a distraction tonight, if there is that tag match next week, maybe Murder Machines gets involved and we end up with a 3-way match.
Craziness. So yes. Sometimes there are too many toys out of the toy box. I don't know.
I agree.
I feel like I'm being curmudgeon-y. I don't want to be. I want everybody to be happy, but what a weird way to get where we're going.
Yeah, no, I think. Look, this was just, unfortunately, it was a down match. It was probably which is funny, like, because as over as the Outrunners are, the crowd was really into it, and the crowd tonight in San Diego was really good tonight. So the crowd was really into it, and the match was over, but it wasn't that good. And I think a combination of that and us not getting the match we wanted and or expected is just leading to you to be a little down on it.
Yeah,
that's totally plausible.
Yeah, that's fair.
You're not hating on it. You're just
no.
You want big meaty men slapping me. We know how you are.
I am who I am.
Yeah. All right. After this, we had a quick video package for Adam Copeland and Jon Moxley, and we came back from commercial with a video package for Ricochet before we went into the ring for a promo from Swerve Strickland and Prince Nana. Swerve started off by recapping his coming into the company 3 years ago at Revolution, where he declared he was going to win AEW Gold. He then went on to win the AEW World Championship, and he showcased it around the world until All In. And Swerve turns to Nana and says he agrees with Nana that he needs to get back to focusing on getting that title back, as he is still the man around here. But right now, he needs to right some wrongs before he can do so. Swerve then calls out Ricochet, saying he has something that doesn't belong to him. And even though Ricochet may think they're done, it's over when Swerve says it's over. And Swerve starts talking about how if he thinks that bullshit low blow was going to allow Ricochet to win, but he is then interrupted as the bald guy comes out. He says he comes out and he says that they are indeed done, as winners do not chase losers. So he's moving on to become what Swerve never will again, a champion. And this was all in between making fun of the Padres and the Chargers leaving and wearing an Eagle Super Bowl hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, just some shitty cheap heat. Ricochet then goes to leave after declaring he's going to win the title, but Nana stops him by saying that he has an offer. After speaking to Tony Khan, Tony agrees that the fans deserve a rematch between Ricochet and Swerve, and the winner of that match will then go on to become #1 contender to the AEW World Championship. Ricochet quickly accepts, saying that all he has to do is beat Swerve's ass again, and then he basically becomes AEW World Championship. However, he says they will only do it in a good city in California, and says they will have the match at Revolution. As Ricochet leaves, Nana then stops Swerve from following him so they can talk. And then Nana tells Swerve that he is proud of him, and he's proud of Swerve for returning his focus to winning the AEW World Championship, as he wants to Swerve to go back to the man that he and the fans know he is, the most dangerous man in AEW. However, Nana says that he's taken a lot of bullets for Swerve, including ones from people like Hangman and the Hurt Syndicate, so he needs Swerve to restore and repair his legacy for him, or else he's not sure he's going to be able to do this anymore. And then Nana leaves, and Swerve has a very, pensive look on his face. So, James, we're getting the match that we all expected at Revolution. Little surprised it's not a stipulation outside of the number one contendership, which is very interesting, because we now have a path for at least one of these guys at the top of the card who aren't currently in the title picture to get back into it. But the Nana thing, I think, is the most intriguing part of this entire promo, as it seems he might leave Swerve.
I'm going to be a little grumpy here again, and I'm sorry, I don't want to be. It feels like forced drama for the sake of it. Like, is Nana going to leave Swerve if Swerve can't beat Ricochet and get it back? Like, I get it if Swerve made kind of like a point of saying he doesn't care about the robe, but he didn't say that. He didn't say that he doesn't care about it. He didn't indicate that he's not there to support Nana. So I think it's kind of unnecessary drama to add on top of everything that doesn't feel necessarily earned. I get I get the Nana character's frustrations, like I get why in kayfabe he would be frustrated with not getting the robe back and feeling let down, but it feels like forced friction in this instance. And Nana's right. He has taken, in his words, he's taken many a bullet for Swerve. And he mentioned the Hurt Syndicate. He mentioned Sting. He mentioned, who else did he say? Somebody else. Hangman. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Sting was the name I forgot.
Yeah. So he's right. But Swerve also stuck by him when he had the offer from the Hurt Syndicate. So I don't know. I'm not thrilled with that little extra wrinkle that they threw into this, but otherwise I'm all for this. I'm glad that it's a number one contenders match. Ricochet kind of earned it in AEW.
Yeah.
He's beaten Will Ospreay. He had a good showing in the Continental Classic. He's beaten Swerve. By all accounts, his record is mostly positive and is near the top of the card. He kind of does deserve to be listed as a challenger for the title.
Yeah, and I think I don't know if he would have beat Takeshita, but something happened with like him and Takeshita where he was really close to beating him, and then maybe there was interference. Yeah. And then there was the three-way match, and I don't think he got pinned in that. Yeah. He has a great record. So yeah, I think he's definitely somebody who deserves it. And Swerve, I think, just kind of on principle deserves one every once in a while. So
I'm all for this. I'm glad that this was added to their rematch. I think it makes it more worthwhile. And I'm rooting for Swerve. Like I want Swerve to get another shot at the world title. But there is a part of me that wants to see Ricochet win just to see him go against Mox and probably die. So I'm in a real pickle here, but otherwise exciting.
Yeah, it's saying Swerve loses and Nana turns on him, bringing a new guy in to get Swerve heel. Maybe. I don't know. He could, turn on Swerve and join Ricochet since Ricochet has his robe. But yeah. I agree with you, James. It seems like drama for drama's sake. I feel like Nana's being a bad friend.
Yeah.
Or even, Swerve called him family during that Hurt Syndicate thing.
Yep. I agree.
So I know, yes, Nana's taking some bullets for Swerve, but Swerve has always been very good to Nana's, and there's that give and take there. So this felt a little selfish, I thought, from Nana, and I didn't particularly like it. So it's a little disappointing.
Yeah.
Because I would like to see Ricochet win. Although, I don't know. I still think there needs to be a stipulation match between these two guys. You can't start off with those scissors and that blood
I know,
and have it end with a regular match.
Yeah, I agree.
I still think something is coming along at some point down there. Maria also saying that Prince Nana is turning on Swerve. So it's possible. Look, it's there. I would be disappointed, obviously, but it would get great heat on Nana. I'd get great heat on Swerve.
Yeah.
Not on Swerve. Well, a good heat on Swerve and great heat on Ricochet. Should Nana join Ricochet, but we'll see. Hey, maybe Nana's just done and wants to retire. Like there's that too, and he just leaves. Who knows? All right. After this, we went quickly backstage with Hangman Adam Page. Renee was trying to get a word with him as he was leaving, but Hangman was just pissed off that MJF had already left, so he tried to blow her off. But then he turns back around before he goes, and he says that when he finds Max, and he will, if he doesn't run MJF over, presumably with his car, MJF is going to wish that he had. That led to our next match, which saw Undisputed Kingdom members Adam Cole,
But my bad, baby.
Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong face off against Daniel Garcia and FTR. I'll jump right to the end of this match, where as Cole and Garcia were squaring off with everybody else on the outside of the ring, Roddy tried to come in and get involved. So that led Dax to come back in, and he put Roddy into the sharpshooter. O'Reilly came in and tried to break it up with some kicks, but Dax just ate all of them. So Kyle went in and implied a cravat. Cash then came in and put an abdominal stretch on Kyle, and then we have 4 men. 3 of them are in submissions while applying other submissions.
I loved it.
Garcia then gets up and tries to help, but as he starts walking towards this mass of men, he sees Cole starting to stir, so he goes over and tries to hit him with the pile driver. However, Cole is able to counter that into a roll-up, and he kept Garcia down for the 3 count, giving Undisputed Kingdom the win. After the match, FTR and O'Reilly and Strong got into a bit of a shoving match that was broken up by Garcia and Cole. And then a match with those 4 men was announced for Collision, along with Garcia versus Cole for the TNT Championship on Saturday.
Yeah.
So, James, this was like one of those fun, like indie style, but PWG 6-man tags with just a lot of cool spots and a lot of like nonsense going on. There was a great sequence right before the commercial break where everyone fought to the outside, and then they just kept like trading dance partners, and everyone ended up taking out each other on the barricades. and there was one tornado DDT to end it. So that was really cool. I like the spot where Garcia and FTR all try to get in sharpshooters, and then all 3 Undisputed Kingdom members got roll-ups, and there was a triple pin in the ring. And then obviously the end sequence was a lot of fun. So this was just a fun match. It was obviously very well wrestled with the level of talent in the ring here. And you set up a lot of stuff for Collision. Although I was surprised, I thought Cole Garcia would be at Revolution because one of those guys has to fight him at Revolution for that title. Yep. They've been angling that the Undisputed Kingdom was going to go after the TNT Championship since the Casino Gauntlet match.
I know.
And I think we're finally getting the first of those matchups. So either way, this was just so much fun. I really enjoyed it.
I did too. I was worried too going into it because I don't know if you were paying attention to it or if you noticed it. When the Undisputed Kingdom came out, the crowd did not give a shit.
Yeah, they were a little quiet.
They were surprisingly quiet for their entrance. Like obviously they did the bay and they did the boom, but otherwise they were just there. It looked like they were sitting on their hands for that. So I got nervous, but the type of match they had absolutely got the crowd back into it. So that's a testament to all 6 men.
Kind of Young Buck style, as you know, was saying. Yeah, because most of these guys have been through PWG, and they all, or at least all the Undisputed Kingdom guys. I don't know about FTR.
No, not to my knowledge.
Yeah,
not to my knowledge.
But it was definitely that type of match.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And it's a good way to get the crowd into it. It was fun, and fun in wrestling and wrestling matches is a good thing sometimes. So really fun showing, but from all 6 men. I love the finish. One, because I'm a sucker for submissions being turned into other submissions by wrestlers who just sort of jump in. I think it's just such a fun spot whenever it happens. And that was a legitimate sudden roll-up victory. Like, that was an out-of-nowhere pin that worked. So it was fun. It was a good ending to that matchup. It gives Cole the win while also protecting Garcia, who got caught. It wasn't like he got beat, he got caught. So a lot of fun there. I want to acknowledge Maria's comment real quick. That she says that the Kingdom are turning heel and Adam Cole is winning the TNT title. I hope not. Not that I even care that much about what these guys are doing, but there's just been so much buildup to get where they are now that if they do split, it's a real why did we get, like, how did we get here and why is this okay kind of situation.
Well, they could all turn heel and not split with Cole having the TNT championship to lead them.
Yeah. Quite frankly, Cole should be a heel.
Yeah, he's
the whole MJF storyline really muddied everything, but he should be a heel right now. And that group is better as heels.
They fought heel tonight very clearly. Like they were in the heel corner and they were absolute dicks throughout the match. You know, there were multiple points where there was a one-on-one thing and Strong and O'Reilly just ran across the ring and took out the other 2 guys on the apron. So they were definitely fighting heel tonight. And I think, well, I don't know, it was kind of just an equal footing where FTR and Strong and O'Reilly started getting into that shoving match. But the Undisputed Kingdom has been really, I don't want to say heel-ish, because they've just kind of been dicks to Garcia.
Yep.
Like, I think O'Reilly has been kind of like, no, he's a good champ. And Cole and Strong are like, no, he's fucking not. He's a kid. Yeah, so like they've been really disrespecting him. And Kyle's been the only one who's kind of been like, no, he's got the title. He's a good kid. He's a good champion. I fought side by side with him.
It's the conglomeration rubbing off on him.
Yeah, so it's been interesting to see, like, you know, what's going on with the Undisputed Kingdom, and I'm curious to see now that Kyle's there if they all turn heel at once, or you know, Cole and Strong turn heel, maybe with Taven and Bennett coming back, and Kyle's back on the outside of things. Like, I don't know. There's a lot to do there, but
I don't know if we're getting Bennett back now because of this Maria stuff.
That's very true as well. So
not you, Maria. Other Maria.
Kanellis. Yeah. So yeah, I feel like she has messed stuff up for them all the time. Like, just don't tweet it.
She has simultaneously been the best thing for Bennett's career while also being one of the biggest detriments to his career.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Look, I'll always love her for the Carl Anderson, AJ Styles gif, but
yes. I grew up watching Maria in WWE where she was the ditzy character and she was great. And the indies, like, everything post WWE has not been super kind.
The Bullet Club stuff was fun, but
yes, that was good. That was good.
But yeah, she needs to follow the golden rules of Craig Ferguson. Does this need to be said? Does this need to be said by me? Does this need to be said by me right now?
Yeah.
More people follow those rules, the world would be a much better place and a much quieter one.
From your lips to God's ears, buddy.
All right, let's keep things moving, because after this match, Excalibur was quickly interrupted by Claudio Castagnoli, who is in the back hunting for Adam Copeland. However, Copeland got the drop on him first and attacked, and the two brawled out towards ringside, where Claudio was joined by Wheeler Yuta, and shortly after that, Marina Shafir, and the Death Riders had the advantage. Claudio beat down Copeland with a chair, but when Yuta went to wrap it around Copeland's neck, Claudio then ordered Wheeler to go out and get another chair for the Concerto. However, as they were about to hit it, the musical Switchblade Jay White hit, and Copeland quickly just used the distraction to jump up. I guess he was playing possum, and used the chairs to take out both Claudio and Wheeler before hitting Claudio with a spear. Marina then got in the ring and jumped up on Copeland's back, and this was great. And using that distraction, Wheeler got up and tried to line up for a Psycho knee, but when he went to hit it, Copeland got Marino off of his back and ducked out of the way, and Wheeler nailed Marino with the Psycho knee. And it was great.
I don't know what it says about me that this was the most hype I got during like the whole
Any
thing.
Death Rider segment ever?
Like, I don't know if I'm a bad person or not, but man, was that awesome.
Because Marina has been taking out dudes left and right, and she's only gotten her real comeuppance twice. She got hit with a Blade Runner, which was great, and then she gets friendly fire from Wheeler. That's amazing. Anyway, White then gets in the ring, and he hits Yuta with a Blade Runner before Copeland starts to position Claudio for a concerto. We then see Moxley try to sneak through the crowd to get in, but White scopes him out and keeps him at bay with a chair, so Moxley has to stay back into the crowd. Moxley is able to save Wheeler by getting him over the barricade, but he's unable to stop Copeland from hitting Claudio with the concerto, and then, seeing red, set Marina up 4-1. However, before he can hit it, Willow Nightingale's music hits, and she comes down to Copeland, holds out her hand for the chair. He obliges and gives it to her, and then she delivers the concerto to Marina as Moxley flips the fuck out. And then after the break, Excalibur said that Claudio and Marina were helped to the back by medical personnel, and they were not doing very well. And we will follow up on that in a bit. But this was great, James, and it is another consecutive week where I think the Death Rider storyline has been really good and really compelling, or at least their segment. I don't know if it's got something to do with Copeland, because I thought the early Copeland stuff with them wasn't great.
Yeah, I agree.
But ever since Copeland and Jay White teamed up, and now you throw Willow into the mix,
your odds have drastically gone down.
Yeah, Revolution. So this is maybe I saw somebody say on Reddit, maybe it's just them finally getting their comeuppance after all of this time, and it's been really good because it has been so unbalanced in terms of them getting their comeuppance for the most part. But either way, whoever has started booking this or getting into the ears of Moxley and Copeland has really helped turn it around. So shout out to who's ever helping them out with it now, because this shit rocks.
No, that's 1,000% same page. I have to agree with that comment that I think it's just because it feels like the tides are turning and like they're getting some comeuppance, and it feels different. We've been complaining for months, literally months now, that it just feels like the same thing all
same
the
old
time.
shit.
They beat up on the good guys, they gang on everybody. It's like, even on those occasions where the good guys would get the occasional like one up on them, it was so temporary that we couldn't really enjoy it. This is the first time in a while that it feels like Mox is vulnerable. And that makes this really fun to watch, and it makes it really compelling. And there are starting to be a lot of questions. We were kind of alluding to it earlier in the night talking here, but like, we're kind of expecting something from Jay White, right?
Yeah. So do you want me to go to that Reddit comment? I pulled it up really quick.
Hold on to it for a second, just because I want to finish real quick. But yes, we're going to talk about that right next. Cope is doing great. Jay White is doing great. And I'm so happy Willow finally got to have her comeuppance. I've been saying it for a very long time. Willow is everything that the Hugger Bailey character could have turned into, but WWE didn't allow it to be.
That fucking kendo stick match against Alexa Bliss. That was right there for the taking.
Yeah. So I love that Willow is so unapologetically Willow, but at the same time, it feels totally right to see her hit the concerto on some Marina Shafir.
Yeah, I mean, she's had some fucked up hardcore matches. Her going out there and doing that shit, like, that's nothing new for her.
Well, it's different from saying I'm going to have a hardcore match versus I'm going to go to a woman who is downed, already down, and then take her out with a concerto. Yeah. That's a very different action. And none of it felt wrong. Like, it felt earned to get there. So, like Maria saying here in the comments, she loved seeing Willow getting her revenge. I completely agree because of how well earned it felt.
Especially, too, because we've been saying, and I know Maria has been harping on this a lot, we've needed somebody from the women's division should join the war. I think we've been saying it since the beginning. Like, one of these women has to eventually enter this fray here, because we can't keep having Jay White hit Marina with Blade Runners. We can only get away with that every once in a while, I'm imagining. And Tony doesn't really like it that much, so that's another reason why
Tony's got to get over it, because I could watch it.
Yeah. Hey, look, Marina is now taking 2 big finishers from men.
Yeah.
So, it's happening, but it's not going to happen too much. But Willow always seemed like the person who was going to join this fray.
It feels weird doing it now and not when Orange was involved, but yes.
Yeah. I feel like she might have been involved in the Orange part of it for like a minute. I could be wrong.
At the Fatal 4-Way, at the end of the Fatal 4-Way, she came and made the save.
Yeah.
And that's it. And it just, otherwise it felt really weird.
Yeah, so there was like that huge gap. It also raising his hand saying the women have had to get involved. Yeah, because I think everybody who is involved in this podcast, whether on screen or in the comments, is wanting to see a woman get involved in this in the Death Rider saga. And we finally got one. We finally got the right one, even if it was a few months late. And it happened in one of the best ways possible.
I would have bet the house. Truly. I would have bet the house that Beth Phoenix was coming in.
Yeah, I guess like you could say that, but Maria's saying Willow's the top face of the division, right next to Timeless Tony Storm right now. And yeah, like she's definitely, because she's not one of the original ones. Like, she's not like Statlander. She hasn't been there as long, but she is a homegrown AEW talent who organically got over and is now at this point. And yeah, I think she feels like the most proper woman to be in this spot, especially over Beth, because I know Beth coming in to back up Copeland makes sense, but this Willow's company, it's not Beth's.
I'll Venmo you $1 if you call him Cope.
I do it occasionally, like if I'm talking fast, but the fact that he just made it his name annoys me so much. That I'm refusing to do it on principle. All right, let's get into this Jay White stuff really quick. So I want to shout out the Reddit user Robo3687 and the post Dynamite thread on Squared Circle. They've said they've made a point in the past of showing that Christian has to sign his contract to cash it in. Therefore, at Revolution, Robo3687 is predicting Copeland wins. Christian comes out to cash in. Jay White, specifying Jay White, comes out to help Copeland, runs Christian off. The contract is left lying in the ring. White turns on Copeland, signs the contract, and becomes the new AEW World Champion. What do we think about that, James?
I don't hate it. I feel bad for Christian. I do. But it's such a weird thing because Christian deserves the AEW title more than Cope does.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. He's done more for the company, I think.
But
he's just been there longer, so he kind of physically.
And I think everything he's done has delivered for the most part. I think there has been very, very, very few missteps with the things Christian has done in AEW.
He beat Kenny Omega for a world championship.
For the TNA World, well, at the time, Impact World Championship.
It was kind of both, actually, because Moose had both.
But it feels right for the Jay White character to do this. I think there is a legitimate, beautiful future for Jay White as the heir apparent to Copeland's
ultimate opportunist.
Thank you. I think that would be such a great trajectory for Jay White's character. And I don't know, if they go the safe route and Cope wins and Christian beats him, that's fine. I'm not going to say no to that. But it just feels really fucking enticing to have Jay White be that guy. It explains why he's still involved. So I don't know. I'm kind of with Reddit on this, that I think Jay getting that contract and signing it himself makes sense. So I don't know. We'll see. But there are so many great possibilities, and I'm going to be cool with most of them. I really hope they don't fumble the end of this. I feel like the ending of this is what people are going to hang their hat on in the long run for if this was worth it with the Death Riders.
Yeah.
So,
and this might not be the end of it. We'll see.
yeah.
Maria has an interesting proposition where Christian goes to the ring to sign the contract, but Darby returns, steals it, and signs it himself. Now, I think the only way that works is if Christian's trying to cash in on Moxley.
Yes,
but
I agree. Because you kind of go full circle there because Mox stole Darby's title shot against Bryan.
Yeah.
So,
actually, yeah, no, I'd forgotten about that. That actually makes a bit more sense now that I think about it. I don't know when he gets down off Everest, but
when is he doing that, by the way?
I thought he was there now.
I have no clue. I thought he was like training for. When is the time of year to climb Mount Everest?
That's a good question. Not the winter.
I'd agree.
I think it's like spring, maybe summer. It depends. I've never like looked into it. Just to tie the loop on everything here. After the Harley Cameron Deonna Purrazzo match, which we'll get into in a second, and we came back from the final commercial. We saw Adam Copeland, Willow Nightingale, and Switchblade all loading up the ambulance with Claudio and Marina inside of it, and then as it pulls off, they all stand there looking like really badass at the end of an action movie. So just backs to the camera, like watching it go by, waving. Like it looked really cool.
The really cool guys don't need to address how cool it is, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
So bravo.
Walk away slowly from explosions. All right. After the brawl, we went to our next match, which saw Harley Cameron in her first match, after her loss to Mercedes Moné for the TBS Championship, face off against Deonna Purrazzo. Taya Valkyrie was shown watching backstage, and I'll just run through the finish here. We're following a powerbomb that Harley kicked out of. Deonna transitioned into an armbar, but Harley was able to use that to roll up Deonna, forcing her to kick out. Harley then got Deonna in interesting position. It kind of looked like she got her like it was a scorpion death drop, but then made a move more towards like a crossroads. So it's kind of like an inverted crossroads, and that got Harley the win. So I guess that's her new finisher. Excalibur didn't call the name of it, whether technical or otherwise, but it looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
And this was a good match, James. Harley, you could tell she's still kind of green, and being in the ring with somebody like Deonna is very helpful for her. But she still looks good. And I was watching, she kind of reminds me a little bit of like Carmella in the ring. They have similar builds. They move similarly. They use some of the same moveset in terms of drink. Sorry to Pepsi Punk. But some of the same moves and like their kicks look very similar because they have like long legs. Harley uses the tiaras with the extra spin to it. I know Carmella used to get that going like Claudio does a swing sometimes, but she does that like extended tiaras. So Harley is drastically improving, and I'm going to let you take the rest of this because this was basically your Super Bowl.
I was so ready for this match. I have been waiting for this match. The moment it got announced, it was the only thing I really, truly cared about going into tonight's Dynamite. And I liked tonight's Dynamite. I'm not trying to say that tonight's Dynamite was bad or anything. It was a good to great Dynamite. But this was what I've been waiting for. Deonna Purrazzo is my girl. And Harley Cameron has absolutely skyrocketed in terms of appreciation for talent. She has been killing it. So I knew I was very likely going to have my heart broken. And I wasn't wrong. I'm happy that Harley's getting wins. It kills me that Harley's only 2 wins are over Taya Valkyrie and Deonna Purrazzo. I don't know what fucked up monkey's paw I've been scratching my ass with, but it's given me the finger now, and I don't like it. So all joking aside, all bitterness aside, you are right. Deonna is a great opponent for somebody like Harley because she wrestles a slow heel style matchup, and she's going to help guide and lead someone like Harley throughout a match like that. So Harley gets to do flashy stuff. Harley gets to be the underdog babyface, overcoming the overwhelming heel that is Purrazzo. So this was very well played. The finish, I like the touch of there not being a name for her finisher, because I'm sure commentary doesn't know what her finisher is.
She hasn't used it yet, as far as I'm aware.
Exactly. So for them to be like, that's whatever, like, it wouldn't feel real.
Yeah.
Like, they wouldn't know it because we don't know it. Nobody's seen it.
Well, that happens a lot with Excalibur. Like, the first time somebody uses a finisher, unless, like, sometimes Excalibur will be like, oh, they told me they were going to use this earlier in the day, and they're calling it this. But a lot of times, sometimes when somebody breaks out a new finisher and Excalibur hasn't seen them use that before, he'll be like, wow, that's a move I haven't seen from them before. And then the next week or two, he'll announce what the name is as he gets it. Like, kind of like Raging Fire with Takeshita. Like, he used that to finish a couple matches, and Excalibur was calling it by its actual name, and then started calling it Raging Fire when Takeshita dubbed it that, or I guess Don did.
Yeah. So I all joking aside, I was very excited for this matchup. It mostly delivered.
I like Pelpit to death.
That would be great.
Or you could call it No Strings Attached.
I'm liking all of this. I'm liking all of this. All things considered, all for real, I'm really happy for Harley. I know a lot of people were worried about her coming out of Grand Slam Australia. I think it's very clear that they didn't need to pull the trigger on her then, because the fan support is not going away. It wasn't an Australia thing. It was a we all like Harley Cameron thing. So that's cool. But for real, Deonna, I don't know what they're doing with her. Not even just straight up as like her fan. Like, obviously I'm biased. Obviously I'm a huge Deonna Purrazzo fan, but I just don't think that they're booking her well.
So thank you. They put on the cry on her entire AEW record going into this match. Do you want to know what it is now after this loss?
Yeah.
15-11.
That's
total.
Fucking, that's bad.
No, I don't know if that's singles or tag.
Single? I was gonna say tag match.
It just said AEW record 15-10, and now she's 15-11, which means if that's all of her matches in AEW, and I know she was in Ring of Honor for a while.
No, but not like Tony's AEW. Not really.
Tony's Ring of Honor? I thought she was down there for a bit. She challenged Athena, right? Am I going nuts?
Yeah.
I thought she challenged Athena for
but it wasn't. I know Taya did. I don't remember if Deonna did.
All right. Well, either way, and I think maybe she was hurt for a bit, but she's had 26 matches. Is my point. How has she only had 26 matches in AEW? And one of them was for a title. It was shortly before she faced off against Toni Storm for the Women's Championship.
Yeah, I'm looking right now.
But it baffles me that she has been this underutilized. I don't know why. I really don't. Like, I'm trying to remember if, like, I don't think she's faced off against Mercedes Moné for the TBS Championship, but she's more than a credible contender for that. She got the AEW World Championship slot, but after that, I think she had that one feud with Thunder Rosa, and that was really it.
And that was a good feud. It just happened on like Rampage.
Yeah,
a little bit Collision too. But,
So you're right. That was good, but like, it's insane. She's done so little in this company after doing so well in TNA and still being a huge star, in my opinion.
She has been on TV with AEW since January 3rd of 2024. So a little over a year and only 26 matches feels not great.
Yeah, and granted, again, mixing a little bit of Ring of Honor in there, but even then, maybe she got hurt. I'm trying to remember. But she was off TV for a while. And I'm including her being on like Rampage and Collision. Like, I'm not including that her being off TV. I was like, I knew she was there. I knew what she was doing. I was watching the highlights of those matches with Thunder Rosa because they were so good. But I feel like she's done very little since she's joined up with Taya, just in general. And she's done very little since that Thunder Rosa feud. So I'm glad they're using her again, but hopefully they can get back on track with her because she is far too good of a talent to be only have been used 26 times in a year.
I agree.
Yeah. She deserves better.
We deserve better.
That
I
is
deserve better.
But all right, James, that was Dynamite. This again, we're on a heater, boys and girls. And I very much enjoyed this Dynamite. It was pretty match heavy, I thought.
Yeah.
Maybe I just didn't break down the promos as much as I normally do, but I thought it was a little more match heavy, and they were some good matches. Marie's saying, hate to turn heel, but Harley has no business beating Deonna. Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right.
It's necessary. Harley needs to develop, and she needs to get pins. She needs to get wins. And unfortunately, where Deonna is positioned right now, she makes sense. But I'd rather it be over a Penelope Ford, you know?
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. But I don't know. We're just living in Bizarro world.
Queen Aminata. You know, if you have Harley against Queen Aminata, I think Harley beats her. That makes a lot of sense.
Yes, I'd agree. Red Velvet. Yes.
Yeah. Well, she's champ in Ring of Honor.
If you're
she's
not
TV champ.
Nobody cares.
I know, but she's TV champ, so it'd be just kind of weird watching the TV champ get pinned. But whatever. Either way, this was still a good episode. And obviously, I think it was all capped off by that unbelievable main event. So, do you think, from Charles, hello, Charles. Do you think Cope and Christian is the goal and Christian screws up Cope by cashing it and winning the title of Revolution, and then Cope goes after him? That's a possibility, because I do think that they already ran that bit for the TNT Championship, which is why James and I were discussing earlier the possibility of Jay White saving Copeland after he wins the championship from Christian, and then White steals the contract and cashes in himself right there and then. So that's a possibility as well. There's a lot of moving parts and players with that match, with the AEW World Championship match.
I will say, and Charles, I would recommend going back maybe like 10 minutes on the stream just to see, because we did talk about this a little more in depth. This concept that everyone's running with, that somebody could steal the contract and put their name on it, makes me giggle just a little bit, because the thought that Christian's had this contract for so long and didn't think to put his name on it already would just be fabulous. Just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, unless like you have to sign it right there and then, like that's a rule for it. But even then, that'd be weird and convoluted.
Yeah, I'd agree.
But James, like I was saying, the main event I thought for this today was the crown jewel of the show, but there was a lot of good stuff on this show, including the Copeland Moxley stuff. So just continuing the heater that is Dynamite right now as we get 1 week closer to Collision, or excuse me, to Revolution. Collision's on Saturday.
The show is firing on all cylinders. Hangman MJF, Death Riders Cope, the title match between Takeshita and Orange was great. The women, Harley, just absolutely her star is continuing to burn bright, and it's just getting brighter and brighter. This is fantastic stuff. This is what AEW should be doing on a weekly basis, and we're finally back in a position where we can. Their top talent is all back and are all delivering. Thank you.
Yeah, and this is something we discussed a bit last week. It's top talent plus all the guys who signed after all that top talent got hurt.
Yeah.
So it's they said they wanted to bring the feeling back, restore the feeling restored. Kids, the AEW is what it was at its peak, and it is going right back up again. So if you're thinking about watching the show again, now is a good time to get in right before Revolution comes up in 2 weeks. And I know there's a few people who are a little annoyed with Triple H and his booking right now. And if you're looking for an alternative, this is it. I really do think that. So, you know, as Taz said on Twitter this a couple days ago, he was like, "We're trying to do different things in WWE. It's a completely different product. You know, it's a completely different mission statement. And then this is something you were looking for. Now's the time to get back in because it is awesome." All right, let's just check the comments really quick before we go. You know it's saying the rules in wrestling are set in stone and completely unbreakable. He does have a point. So, Christian, can't write the name in beforehand. And then Charles comparing the contract to Money in the Bank, saying WWE troubled us by allowing the case for Money in the Bank to change hands. I agree with you. Just put your name on it, Christian. So, yeah, it would be kind of funny that the first time like somebody actually held a contract like this for an extended period of time in AEW, because the TNT one was one night, not even
a full night.
Luchasaurus won it in the beginning of the night, and then Christian cashing in at the end of the night. But it would be kind of funny that the first time somebody actually holds it for more than a night, they screw it up.
Oh, Christian, you are not the ultimate opportunist.
He thinks he is, but he's not.
He's not.
All right. On that note, anyway, everybody, I would like to thank you so much for watching us here at the Market Down Podcast. We'd appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. If you liked the video, it lets us know that you're enjoying what we're doing, and we'll continue to do it. And then if you subscribe, you continue to get all of our shows here on the channel. Tomorrow is the Gym Pack Zone for you TNA Impact fans. Not only that, it's James's birthday, so be nice and watch for James's birthday. That could be your present to him. We have Elimination Chamber coming up on Saturday, so we'll be around to cover that. For those of you who enjoy WWE, we'll be here to cover that. Maybe we'll start doing a little more SmackDown and Raw as we get closer to WrestleMania, depending on what happens, if anything major happens on any of the shows. Same thing with NXT, too, because NXT firing right now. Yeah. With the recent TNA crossover stuff. Maybe, James, if you want to cover a little bit of that stuff tomorrow, you could.
Yeah, I definitely will be.
And Julius Stephanie Vicar is happening soon. So
it's gonna be hot.
It's happening in the Garden. We might have to look and see how much those are.
I've already thought about it.
It's probably so expensive.
We'll figure it out, but it'll be good.
I saw, I think it was SRS said one of them's hurt, and that's why they're doing it now. So hopefully they're both okay. And it's not a long-term thing. It just sounds like one of them needs to sit out for a little bit. So hopefully they're fine. But anyway, yeah, we'll be covering the WWE stuff. And then obviously we will be back here next week on Wednesday for the next episode of Dynamite. And then we'll be covering Revolution about a week and a half or whatever it is. If you want to follow us on any of our social media platforms, and you're here on YouTube, you can check us out: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Blue Sky. Links are all in the description below. If you're watching us over on Facebook or on Twitter, want to follow us on some of our other stuff, Twitter is at marketdown_pod, Instagram at marketdownpod, youtube.com/marketdown3665, and Blue Sky is marketdownpod.bsky.social. I think you can just search Marketdown Podcast there. So real quick from good show, but can you let Danny speak? We'll consider it. So for James Jasansi, my name is Nick Cummings. Thank you so much for watching us here at the Market Down Podcast. Come to Gym Packed for James's birthday tomorrow.
It's going to be a big, fun birthday episode. We're going to have fun. Join me.
All right. Have a good one, everyone.